Hey everyone, welcome to the Student Physical Therapist Insider Access. I'm Dr. Chris Fox. Today I wanted to go over some different tips for interviews when it comes to residencies and jobs down the road. Now, I have a background in both residency interviews and been interviewees, and then obviously different professional positions as well. I think my perspective on how I view interviewing candidates has changed over the years. Initially, when I was the one interviewing and looking for positions, particularly in residencies, I think the biggest thing I looked for or I thought was important to display was my passion and interest in the profession or the position, what I could help bring to the team as well. I really thought it was more about like technical skills and knowledge. Over the years, having had different interviews, having worked with different people, having interviewed different people as well for different positions, I think I've realized more of the importance can lie in how teachable you are, and then how well you can fit in with the culture, and also going back to what can you provide for the clinic itself. And the reason why is because you can have all the knowledge in the world. You can have a photographic memory, an audiographic memory, where you can remember every little thing that you've ever heard or seen, so that you can basically repeat it and maybe apply it to your skills. But if you cannot communicate with a patient, if you cannot work as part of a team, if you can't fit in, so to speak, then it makes it extremely difficult to want to bring someone on as a team member. On the flip side, say you have a outstanding work ethic, someone who communicates extremely well, can build rapport with patients, and the people that you work with, but maybe your clinical skills are not all that great, then we can work with that. The biggest thing we look for is, are you teachable? Are you coachable? Are you are you so stuck in your ways that doing a residency would be unimportant altogether? Or is there a way that you can be educated on different perspectives? Now, as a residency faculty member and mentor, I'm not saying that what I teach is the gold standard. In fact, I know I have my biases, as does every other clinician out there. But what I would hope is that in working with uh, myself and other faculty members, is that you're able to pull a little bit from each mentor, and each class that you go through, see what you can and cannot apply, but most importantly, be able to identify what your own limitations are and what you need to grow on from there. So don't go into an interview necessarily looking to prove how much you know, because in reality, when you look at the knowledge you get from PT school or even early on as a clinician, it is pretty limited compared to the scope of what's out there when you look at technical skills, when you look at um, didactic information. So you're likely to not impress someone so much to the point that they feel like they need to hire you that way. And especially because when you look at how reimbursement works, the most seasoned PT versus the brand new, like they're paid exactly the same when you look at per visit, per unit criteria in the insurance world. Um, Not to say that there isn't a benefit one one way or the other as far as follow up goes and recruiting and all that, because there definitely is that benefit. I'm not saying technical skills are useless, if you build a good enough rapport with patients and help people recover consistently, you might then see a trend of certain doctors referring to you and building up the um, your referral base for the clinic more so than before you were hired. But that's kind of a different discussion. That's probably more so for proving your worth to the company, and it's going to be hard to do that initially as a PT coming out of school anyway. Um, but that's where technical skills can come in hand as long as they are actually helping to improve the patient. But there's plenty of research out there anyway that says the number one, or one of the top at least, indicators for a successful medical relationship with a patient is the actual relationship itself, what sort of rapport there is. And that's why if you hear uh, most clinicians talk to you about what it is that they think is most important in their toolbox, so to speak, it most of them will say it's their mouth. What are they able to say to the patient? How are they able to communicate? How can they listen as well? I know that's more ear, but the idea is the same: communication. Um, so making sure that as in someone who's interviewing for a position, that you can communicate and that you're teachable, uh, are probably some of the key factors for getting hired. Absolutely show your passion for the field, why you want to be in the field. Um, I think that's an important thing that uh, almost seems obvious to include, but don't think that that's all that will do it. One other thing that should be considered is you don't want to present yourself as someone who's just looking at this opportunity as a stepping stone to somewhere else. For example, say you're interviewing for a position, you're saying like, oh, like I love what the company does, I want to be there. My dream job is I actually want to move to the other side of the country and open my own practice there, or it could be even open your own cash pay practice right there at the clinic, or in nearby the clinic. That I'm not saying that a residency or a position wouldn't hire you altogether with something like that, but it might deter them because there may or may not be some appeal in hiring someone who's willing to stay there, and or interested in staying there to become part of the team and continue to grow the practice and the brand, versus like, well, we're training someone who's then going to go out in the world. Although that has its benefits because then it's like basically marketing anyway. So you send someone off to another part of the country and they get PT students, and they're asking like, oh, where did you get trained? Well, they might then say, well, I did my residency, or I worked here for a while and got good mentoring there. So um, even if you do plan to potentially do that, I would find a way to say it without it making it sound like you're it's just a short stay at that residency clinic potentially. Now, don't make the assumption you're going to have the job afterwards either, but maybe you want to stay in the area for a while and get settled before moving on to something else in the profession, or continuing to grow. It's just a tip. I mean, some clinics will have more feeling one way or the other about that. Um, I think probably the private practice ones often want to keep theirs unless they're really taking advantage of the residency discount, so to speak. Um, but yeah, that's one where you kind of want to be careful and manage your words before you actually talk about that component of it. So in summary, some of the biggest things I'd say that you can do to help yourself in an interview, either for a residency or um, a a specific job, is make sure that you present how you are coachable, how you're wanting to learn, um, show your positive personality, your ability to communicate well. If you have a hard time making eye contact, you can't communicate your thoughts very well, it's not going to help your chances for sure. Even if you have that 4.0 GPA, you have the best, your best clinical internships possible. We want to see that the soft skills are there for sure, because we can teach you the rest. So keep that in mind. Um, and if you have any questions about residency application, interview prep, anything specific, feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer. All right, have a good one.